think the thing that really would have accelerated a lot is consistently looking for opportunities to raise money, even when I don't have a particular need for it, or that deal's not active, or I don't have some perfect form. And that would really help turbocharge the business.
Yeah.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
If you had access to an extra $100,000, $250,000, even $500,000 in private money, how many more deals would you be doing right now? And here's the real question. What's actually stopping you? Is it the lack of deals, or is it the lack of funding? Welcome to another episode of Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority. And today we're going to show you exactly what's possible when you stop chasing deals and start attracting the money. Because my guest today didn't come from a wealthy network. He didn't start with deep pockets, and he didn't wait until everything was just perfect to get started. Jarrod Frankum started with nothing but a decision. Fast forward to today, he's raised over $550,000 in private money, built a real estate business from the ground up, and is consistently helping sellers solve real problems while funding his deals the smart way. He's an investor, a licensed realtor, and founder of a family-run business. But more importantly, he's proof that you don't need experience, connections, or capital to get started right now. You just need the right mindset and the right strategy. So in this episode, we're going to break down how Jarrod did it, how he raised private money, and how you can do the exact same thing starting right where you are. You're going to meet my guest, Jarrod Frankum, right after this. Jarrod, welcome to Raising Private Money.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jay. Good to see you.
You bet. Good to see you again as well, Jarrod. Well, I love your story. I want to dig into it. We want to share it with the audience. So first, let's go back to the beginning. Jarrod, you didn't start with money. You didn't start with connections and all that kind of good stuff. So take us back to the moment that you decided, I'm going to raise private money. What flipped that switch for you? It's been my experience after interviewing over 800 guests here on Raising Private Money. There was something that happened. There was a trigger that happened in your story that pointed you towards private money. What was that?
Well, I more or less stumbled into it. So I didn't ask for it. I didn't make this decision that, oh man, I've got to figure out how to raise private money necessarily. It happened by circumstance, and it even happened on my very first house that I purchased for myself. And the way that had come to be was when I was about 4 or 5 real estate deals in, I found a house that the owner owned outright, and he needed a massive down payment. He wanted to buy, and he was willing to owner finance most of it, but wanted like a $50,000 down payment. I thought, well, if I could get the deal at the right terms, what I could do is structure the deal so that way I could either resell it or do something. So I thought that, well, I need to structure the deal in some way. And so this was a house that the owner wanted $50,000 to buy a tractor. He's a farmer, lives 70,000 miles away. And I thought, well, I don't have $70,000. I'm brand new in this business. But the price was cheap enough. I thought, well, I could resell this deal to someone else. And so I went ahead and put it under contract, and I had no idea where on earth I was going to get $50,000 from. And long story short, I was just telling friends and family and people in the church network and things about what I'm doing and how my business was going. And I even found this house. And then someone said, Jarrod, we've seen what you've been doing with you're finding these deals and selling them off and this and that. We would love to help you. We see what you're doing. We believe in what you're doing here. Kid you not. They said, we will partner with you and fund you this $50,000 so you can do this deal. It blew me away. I wasn't even looking for it. I wasn't trying to pitch it. I wasn't trying to do anything like that. I just was sharing my excitement about, hey, my business is getting up off the ground and going. And someone offered it to me. And that was my first instance of private money on my very first house that I bought for myself. And what I had been doing previously was wholesaling real estate, where I would find discounted properties and then resell them with the intent that I still want to own property. And then I had another instance of raising private money. And this came from, I had been trying to find lines of credit, unsecured lines of credit, so that way I could buy property. And at the time, I was still so new in business that banks really wouldn't give it to me. But I had just met a handful of connections, realtors and other investors, and I would go to this weekly meetup where we would just talk about what our business goals are, how we can help each other and this and that. And a realtor friend of mine shared with me, well, I use private money. I've got this couple that for their retirement, what they do is they lend to real estate investors. And I set up a meeting with them, and thankfully it was just being in the right room. I set up a meeting with this couple, and they'd asked about deals I was doing, and I showed them, and I even had a deal, an opportunity for them to invest on that they could get a better return than if they were to leave money in the stock market or whatever. And sure enough, I showed them the deal, and they loaned the entire house. So this was really cool because they loaned me the money, the entirety of the purchase price, the entirety of the remodel budget, and a way for me to do an assignment fee to fund my real estate acquisitions business. So I was able to buy the property with no money out of pocket, entirely 100% on private money financing. They loved it. The deal went smooth. We remodeled the house within 3 months. We refinanced it, paid them back off. They made a good chunk of money. They're excited. And then they roll that into the next one, and then roll that next one. So we constantly have money with them. And then now having this as a story of, hey, I've done this already. Now I come across other people, and I'm not actively like seeking big private money now, although I know I should, or that's the next, I should say, that's one of the very next steps for my business as we take on more projects like this, is raising more money, because we happen to lose a line of credit that I had gotten because the bank's risk tolerance went down and they weren't willing to renew it. So I realized, man, I can't rely exclusively on lines of credit or just banks. It's really healthy to have access to several types of funds. And also, as the stock market's not doing so hot and not as predictable, when you've got people with great track records on buying, remodeling, and doing well on deals, people who've got a stack of cash but is afraid of the stock market or afraid of the volatility, they're wanting to put money with us. And so what started from just someone believing in me and seeing a little bit of success, and that parlaying into someone else wanting to take a piece of that, and then now it's starting to grow where we've got a number of people who are willing to lend. Maybe not everyone doesn't lend on the entire deal, but it's pieces. Maybe it's $10 to $20, $30,000, or up to 200 or more on the full deal. And right now we've got a remodel that we're doing there. And so I don't know. I did, to answer your question, when did I realize I had to do it was April, about a year ago, was when my bank, I finally had got that line of credit, but my bank elected to not renew it because they're concerned about the whole political situation and this and that. And they didn't want to renew the credit line. And so I realized, man, I have to always have access to capital, because when the deal is there, the last thing that you want to run into is not have the way to fund it. And oftentimes you need to make decisions quickly that I could go to a bank and get a typical bank loan, but that takes 30, 45 longer days. Oftentimes these deals, you've got to be able to jump on the opportunity there, or you lose it. And in fact, we had that same couple. There was a deal at the house that next morning. I got a call at like 8 p.m. The next morning, that house was going to foreclosure, and I couldn't wait for a bank. I couldn't have even waited for a line of credit for the bank to open. I called that couple at 8 p.m. and said, look, I've got a wild story for you. You're going to think I'm insane. Here's the deal. Here's what I found. Here's the situation. We've got to have this money by 9 a.m. tomorrow, cash in hand to go to pick this up. Sure enough, we closed on it. We bought it. And I raised that money in 8 hours or whatever it was. So having access to funds like that really enables you to act on opportunity when it's fresh. Otherwise, we would have lost the deal. There was no other way to fund it.
Jarrod, what I love about your story is that your beginning days using private money and my beginning days starting to use private money, which for me goes all the way back to 2009. I had a bank story, right? I had a line of credit at the bank. I thought I had a line of credit at the bank still when I had 2 houses under contract, and I called up my banker and learned that my line of credit had been closed. And so anyway, you and I have that in common as far as we had to find a better and quicker way to fund our deals. Another commonality that we have in your story and my story is it sounds like your first private lender was from a church connection. Did I hear that right?
That's correct.
Mine as well. Our first private lender was a church connection. And there's I heard a big takeaway from your story that you just shared about your first private lender. And you said you weren't asking anybody for money. I never asked anybody for money, but I got over $8 million that I keep turning over and over and over again. And so you didn't ask. The big takeaway from your story is that you were just sharing your enthusiasm and your excitement for what you were doing with deals and what you had going on. And that is a great attractor factor, if you will, to get people attracted to you and chasing you to where we're not chasing the money. It's all about, there's no selling, persuading, chasing, begging, right? No selling. It's all about letting people know what you do and then letting them know that you've got an opportunity. So I can relate to what so much about what you were just sharing in your stories. And, we got a lot of real estate investors that are listening and tuning in to this episode. And a lot of them are stuck because they feel like they just don't know enough yet. Did you have any lack of confidence at the beginning? And if you did, how did you push through that lack of confidence and start raising money anyway?
Yeah, well, I had no clue what I was doing. To tell you the truth, I thought that I was either A, doing something brilliant, or B, doing something incredibly irresponsible. There was just, there was so much. The thought was, I'm either just doing something so crazy it doesn't even matter. Like I'm either going to fall so hard on my face it doesn't matter, or B, that this is going to be awesome. And I thought, man, let me just take this one step at a time. I knew that one thing that, especially when I was early in the business, this was 2020, March 2020 is when I closed that first deal with private money. It was the first house I had ever bought. I'd never owned any real estate prior to this. And there was a number of new things to me. And, but I knew, well, if I think the house was going to be worth like $320,000. It needed 30 or 40,000 in repair. And the owner, we had structured either A, we could do he wanted $180,000 cash or 230 with $50,000 down. So I knew, man, there's still so much margin on top. Even if I totally whiff this thing, I could just sell it outright to someone else and I'll be okay. And it just didn't sense that it was going to go bad. I just knew that the numbers just seemed to make so much sense, but I had no idea if it was going to work or not. It just seems to make sense. And so I put it under contract, and I knew I had no idea where 50 grand was going to come from. I had no idea. And but I was just sharing with people about who care about me. And hey, I found this deal, and this is what I'm looking at. And this is so cool. Look, check this house. It's, here, and I'm structuring it this way and this and that. And then they brought it up. They said, Jarrod, why don't we just fund it for you so you can go do something? You've been looking at this for a long time. And I think that's what encouraged them to even consider loaning the money to me was the consistency I'd had prior of actually doing other real estate deals like wholesales and that sort of thing, where I never closed on any, but I had found great deals for other people. And they wanted to see me, they wanted to believe in me, invest in me, and see me level up and actually own and begin building and that sort of thing. And yeah, I had no clue what I was doing, but I thought if I just take the one step to help me move forward, which was sign the contract. Okay, I signed the contract. Now I need to figure out where the money's coming from. Well, let me bring the deal to other people. Maybe I can either A, partner with someone, or B, someone will want to buy it or whatever. I didn't know. I just figured, let me just take the next step. My grandma, I love my grandma. She had given me this advice one time. About something not related. I don't even remember what it was about, but she had said one time, Jarrod, the way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Don't worry about eating the whole thing at once. Just take the one bite. So I thought, let me focus on this one bite of this deal, which was getting the contract. And then next is finding people to either partner or buy it. And then 3, just telling other people about what I'm doing, just out of excitement share. And sure enough.
So let's get tactical,
Yeah.
Jarrod. Our listeners, common question I get all the time is, where are you finding your private lenders?
Mm-hmm.
So I heard where you found 2 of them. The first one was through a church connection. The second one, you were in a conversation and they told you about someone that had retirement funds that was lending. And so you had an intentional meeting with them.
Yes.
And I suppose you had not met them before.
Nope.
So this is sort of like a co-meeting. So what are some other places or areas, or how have you found other private lenders?
By being heavily involved in the real estate scene. Like I would go to the real estate investor meetups. I would make good contacts with hard money lenders, banker. Being close with people involved in the industry, I don't know how, but my name gets brought up. It's so referral based. I don't market. I know I'm small in the space. Like I'm not raising millions and millions of dollars yet. Not yet. I know we will get there. But so far, it's just been based off of referrals. Hey, Jarrod, we know this guy. We've seen what he's doing. Right. And they reach out. It's been all organic to me, but it's always been related to being active, being profitable, being successful in real estate. When I say I just complete deals. I deliver on what I'm going to say. I pay the people on time. They get their returns. I don't make them wait around for their money. They're not if they want to go walk the property, I'll let them go look at it. I don't mind, at least at this stage. I think if I'm doing, a number of deals, that may be a lot logistical thing, but I'm not there yet. And so I'm playing with the cards that I have. And so far, it's just all been on referrals, but based on my 1, reputation, and then 2, being around other people doing similar things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and that's the way it's been for me over all these years. I have, I've either already known the person, had some kind of relationship, already had the trust factor, the credibility in place, or I was referred to someone that I had already been doing business with, that I already had that relationship. So it's like, when the referral comes, pretty much they're already in. It's just a matter of, that warm-up conversation and reviewing what it is that you offer, the interest rate that you offer, and that type of thing. So let's talk about mistakes and lessons learned and how to avoid them. Can you identify any mistakes or things that you would do differently now on attracting the money than when you first started attracting the money? And in addition to that, have you observed any mistakes with other real estate investors?
Oh, yes.
When they have gone to raise private money?
Yes. Let me answer the second question first, which is, have I observed any other mistakes? Absolutely. The number one thing that I've seen other people do, and it wrecked some good friends of mine who invested with someone else, is they weren't upfront, they were not clear, they were not truthful and honest about this genuine situation of the house, the genuine values of the home, the genuine, none of that. They were um, raising money to pay for bad debt elsewhere, and that ultimately became this massive house of cards that all fell down. So thankfully, that's not anything that's ever happened with me, but I have seen that. And it's easy to believe in someone when you see that they own a number of properties, but if it's not backed up by reality, then it'll come crashing down. So of course, what I do is I'm so upfront. I show my my estimated remodel costs. I show what I think the house is worth. I'll give comps. I try to front load as much as I can, positive proof, and even poke holes in why the deal could be seen as some sort of risk. And here's how I overcome that. And if someone is not willing to work with me, of course, it's okay. It's okay. I forget who says it, but like the deal of a lifetime comes around once a month. So it's not like that's the only one.
There's always deals, always going to be deals. So true.
Yeah. And I think the mistake that I have is I've waited to find the money when I'm already needing it. I think the thing that really would have accelerated a lot is consistently looking for opportunities to raise money, even when I don't have a particular need for it, or that deal's not active, or I don't have some perfect form. And that would really help turbocharge the business.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I learned early on, it makes a whole lot more sense to get the money lined up first. And, think about it. How many more offers? How much more confidence is someone going to have on making offers if they know where the money is going to come from, and they know it's like what I call sitting on the shelf, just waiting to be used.
Right.
And I'll tell you, Jarrod, I tell you one thing that just drives me crazy. Have you ever heard the guru stand on stage talking to a bunch of newbies, and they'll say, quote unquote, "Oh, just get the deal under contract, the money will show up"? You ever heard that?
Of course.
Yeah, of course we all have. It's insane. It's like, or they'll say, "No, of course, thank goodness in your case it did show up, right? In your first, but it might not have shown up. It might not have shown up anyway." Or they'll say something to the effect of, "Oh, money finds good deals." And I want to say, is you get a deal on the contract, is a drone going to fly over your front porch and drop a bag of money? Or does money does money have legs? Is money going to run around, looking for deals? And so it's been my experience, the more private money somebody's got lined up, ready to go without a deal attached to it, the more deals they do.
Right? Exactly.
I mean, when that deal comes across your desk, it's sort of downright stressful. As you probably know, it's sort of stressful to go be trying to raise money on a deal you got under contract. And people have heard me say it all the time, desperation's got a smell to it. Now, thank goodness you didn't come across desperate. You were just excited about what you had got going on.
And that's the thing. I think if it actually wasn't a smoking hot screaming deal, there would have been some desperation there. But I think that deal was just incredible. That first one was just nutty. I mean, you walked into $70,000 of equity day one without doing anything, just buying it, walked into that much. So I knew that there was some genuine value there. You're not just, you throw a number out and hope they take it. Oh, I've got the deal. I don't think money will come to that, because that's everywhere. You look on the MLS, you can find any sort of retail value deal. But when you really find deeply, deeply discounted property where there's a ton of upside, there's a ton of opportunity, and there's a ton of room, even if it goes apocalyptic, that people are still going to make it out, that's where money really just flows to you. But it doesn't come like a drone. That came because I was mentioning it, talking about it, and people had already known what I was doing previously to buying real estate. One of my mentors had told me this one time early on. He said, Jarrod, you're like a McDonald's with no sign and no windows and only one door in the alley. And there's a ton of hungry people outside, but no one knows that you cook hamburgers. And so you have to be loud and not boastful, so to speak, but loud. Let people know that it's there. Hey, there's an opportunity here. This is real. This is what's going on. And that's how money will come to you. It doesn't just appear on its own.
Exactly. So, Jarrod, for those that are listening to this show and they want to start raising private money, but they never have before, what would be your advice on where do they start? Like, what's the first thing they need to do or to understand or get straight
about raising money? One is know what it is that you're raising money for. I think you could just claim that you want to raise money, but if you don't have any real direction or aim or purpose to it, I think it can really frustrate not having any meaningful pitch. What people believed in me, and I can only speak from my own experience, but what people believed in me was my certainty about the direction of where this deal was headed, and I believed in it with my whole being, and it was so obvious. And that's where that's what raised the money. And so knowing how it will be helpful. Two is knowing what's the need of someone who's loaning that money out. People aren't loaning their money out just because, right? There's going to be an expectation for return, I'd say 99.9% of the time. So what is it that they would want? Something I often think to myself, or I talk to other people getting involved in real estate and how do they make offers, is one is if you aren't willing to buy that and close on it yourself, do you actually have a good deal? And that encourages them to really reconsider on what is a good deal in order to make a deep enough discount. And so then you think, okay, well, would you loan money on this deal? If we want to talk about loaning money, would I loan my own money to someone else if it was this particular deal? And if the answer to that question is no, either A, I don't know enough, or two, it's not a good deal. So you could solve either of those two things by one, learning a little bit more about loaning and expectations and all that, or two is evaluate, is this actually a good deal? There's bad deals everywhere. There's bad deals. You don't have to go far to go find a bad deal. But the really good ones, they don't last long either. So put yourself in the shoes of someone who would be a lender. And when you would structure it so that way you would be satisfied yourself, I think others would also.
That's great advice, Jarrod. Yeah, when I get asked that question, what's the first thing that they need to do? My answer is, and it ties in with your answer, my answer is you got to get the right mindset first.
Sure, yeah.
You got to get you got to own the real estate between your ears. Yeah. And I had to get my mind wrapped around that because, you know, I had been we started investing in single family houses in 2003. And for those first 6 years until January 2009, I didn't know anything about private money. I didn't know anything about hard money. Of course, for all of our listeners, Jarrod and I have not been talking about hard money. Hard money is institutional money. We're talking about private money, you know, doing business with individuals, human beings. And, you know, the traditional way to borrow money is 99.9% of the people walking around thinks whoever's lending the money makes the rules. Whoever's lending the money sets the interest rate and all that. And in this world, we're not asking, we're not applying for a mortgage, we're offering an opportunity. So like, you know, I view myself as a teacher, an educator. We've had 47 private lenders funding our deals, and not one of them had ever heard of private money or how they could use self-directed IRAs to lend out retirement funds to real estate investors until, what did I do? I put on my teacher hat, which says private money teacher, and I just went about educating. But I wouldn't educate until I diagnosed first if they had a problem, right? So anyway, Jarrod, you and I have got so much in common. It's been great having you on the show. how can people connect with you and continue the conversation?
Absolutely. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Jarrod Frankum, and send me a message there. That's where I'm most active, and that's the quickest way to get a response from me, especially these days. It's hard to even answer a phone call because there's so many spam, right?
Exactly. So yeah, y'all can find Jarrod on Facebook, and you spell his name. Of course, this will all be in the show notes. Jarrod, Jarrod, Frankum, Frankum. Jarrod, thanks so much for joining us on Raising Private Money.
Likewise. Thank you, Jay.
You got it. All right, folks, let's bring this home. If you got value from this episode, and I know you did, here's the truth. Listening does not change your business, but taking action does. So don't just sit on what you heard in this episode. Reach out to someone you know, start the conversation, and begin raising private money and attracting it. And here's the deal. If this episode helped you think bigger, move faster, or gave you the confidence to finally just get started, then help me get this message into the hands of more real estate investors just like you. I want you to take 30 seconds right now and just do one of these three things. Either one, share this episode with a friend who needs funding for their deals, or post it on your social media and tag me, or send it directly to someone who's been saying, I don't have the money to get started. Because the more people we reach, the more deals get funded and the more lives that get changed. And hey, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss the next episode of Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and I'll see you right here on the next episode.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/money guide. That's JCONNER.com/money guide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/money guide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.